Welcome to our podcast discussion on how to navigate hard conversations mindfully. We're diving into practical tips for when discussions, especially around polarizing topics, get tough.
I'm looking forward to this. It's so relevant nowadays, right?
Absolutely. The idea is that even when we're deep in a debate, we can lean on shared humanity and awareness to make things a bit easier.
Yeah, right. So the first point is about remembering that underneath all our opinions, we all long for the same things: love, safety, connection.
Exactly. It's like when things heat up, it's crucial to pause and remind yourself that the person you're talking to is just as human as you are. This can really shift the tone of the conversation.
And I think it goes even deeper than that. It asks us to consider, what are the lived experiences behind those opinions?
Yes, that's another solid point. Instead of just labeling views as right or wrong, try to understand the journey someone might have taken to get there. It's about exploring the backstory, like where they come from, their challenges, their upbringing.
But don't you think sometimes we risk, overly rationalizing things? Can too much analysis potentially downplay the emotional intensity of a moment?
That's a fair challenge. I mean, it's not about turning every conversation into a clinical analysis. It's more about adding a layer of compassion and curiosity to temper those sharp edges.
Good point. So then we come to the idea of breathing breaks. Just taking a moment to center yourself before continuing the conversation.
Exactly. If you're in the thick of a debate, whether online or in person, taking a short break to focus on your breath can really help you regain a sense of calm. It's like hitting a mini reset button.
And what's interesting is that these breaks don't have to be long. Even a minute can bring clarity.
Yeah, it's very accessible. If you're at the table or even at your computer, just pausing can let your emotions settle a bit. Think of it as a micro meditation.
Then there's the tip about taking the debate offline, right?
Absolutely. When you're engaging in an online discussion, it's easy to misinterpret tone or intent. So moving to a phone call or in-person meeting can really help ground things in human connection.
I love that idea. It forces us out of the digital echo chamber.
Exactly. It reminds both parties that there's a real person with feelings on the other end. That can often help de-escalate tension.
I also appreciated the emphasis on setting healthy conversational boundaries. Sometimes, despite all our best efforts, a conversation just doesn't go well.
Right. And knowing your own limits is critical. If the other person isn't willing or able to engage respectfully, it might be wise to step away. There's no obligation to keep fighting.
And that also brings up the point about not having to agree to disagree all the time. You're allowed to choose which conversations you engage in wholeheartedly.
Exactly. Mindful communication isn't about silence or agreeing with everything. It's about choosing how to interact in a way that preserves your well-being.
Which ties neatly into the next tip: listening with a true desire to understand.
Yes, that's crucial. By really listening, not just waiting for our turn to speak, we might uncover that beneath their words, they are, trying to express a genuine need or concern.
I sometimes find that if both parties practice this kind of listening, even the most heated topic can transform into a heart-to-heart discussion.
Exactly. And it's exactly what the content suggests, moving towards a deeper, more empathetic connection rather than just winning an argument.
Right. Can you share an example or an analogy that brings this to life?
Sure. It's like, if you're building a bridge between two islands, every careful step and pause is like placing a secure, sturdy plank. Even if the ground between you feels shaky, eventually you'll have a solid connection.
Yeah, that's such a vivid image. But I wonder, does this process work when emotions run extremely high? I mean, sometimes people are so triggered that mindfulness feels almost impossible.
I get that, and it's true. It doesn't magically dissolve all tension. But even in the heat of the moment, small interventions like a deep breath or a brief pause can be like a splash of cool water, offering just enough relief to keep the discussion going.
So it's not about avoiding discomfort completely, but managing how we approach it.
Exactly. Mindfulness here is not about being emotionless. It's about acknowledging that discomfort exists and then choosing to navigate it in a way that respects both your feelings and the feelings of the other.
That's right. I guess that connects with the idea of engaging only when you're ready. If you feel overwhelmed, you might, temporarily step back.
Yes, and that's a healthy boundary. There's no shame in, opting out of a conversation that's just too toxic or intense.
Mhm. What about situations where one person just isn't willing to listen or understand? How do these tips address that?
That's a challenging scenario. The advice here suggests that ultimately, you can't force mutual respect. If the other person isn't ready to embrace shared humanity, then you have to own your boundaries. It's okay to gracefully exit the conversation without feeling guilty.
Right. And that's a powerful reminder that mindful communication is as much about self-care as it is about finding common ground.
Absolutely. It's like rather than trying to change the other person, you choose to change how you engage, maintain compassion, and take better care of yourself.
Yeah. One small critique might be that sometimes, in highly charged situations, taking a step back could be misinterpreted as a lack of commitment to the conversation.
That's a valid point. However, I think it's more about redefining commitment, not to the intensity of the debate, but to the process of respectful engagement.
Exactly.
In the long run, preserving your peace often leads to more productive discussions.
I agree. And these mindfulness tips seem like a roadmap for creating that kind of space, even when the conversation could easily become destructive.
Yes, it's inviting us to step into the conversation with a balance, a blend of empathy, self-awareness, and a clear boundary for what we can handle.
Mhm. It's almost like saying, hey, let's see each other's hearts, even if we disagree on opinions.
Exactly. And when we acknowledge our shared humanity, we set the groundwork for more compassionate exchanges that might just bridge that political gap.
Right. It's refreshing to think of debates in these terms, not as battlegrounds, but as opportunities to connect on a deeper level.
Absolutely. So, if you ever find yourself in a hard conversation, remember these mindful practices. They might not solve all conflicts, but they certainly can transform how we relate to each other.
Mhm.